I first want to request our distinguished guests to maintain some silence when the keynote speakers are speaking, please. I would really appreciate that. Distinguished guests, it is my privilege to introduce the next keynote speaker, Mr. Frank Islam. Mr. Frank Islam is a very distinguished Indian American who really doesn't need an introduction to this group of people. He's a very well-known Washingtonian and very well connected and associated with a lot of the Indian American community events. But I'll still briefly introduce you in my 2 minutes time, which I have been allotted, although I'm sure that I can't do justice for his accomplishments. Mr. Islam is the founder and CEO of FI Investment Group, which he started in 2007. Along with his wife, he has also established the Frank Islam and Debbie Grisman Charitable Foundation. However, it was the QSS Group, an information technology services company, which he founded in 1994, that was a game changer in his career. In an interview with a local institution, he said he started QSS with 1 employee, and by 2007, he had approximately 2,000 employees with a revenue of 280 millions. Mr. Islam is a recipient of many awards, and he serves on the boards of many institutions, you name it, University of Maryland, U.S. Department of Commerce, Export-Import Bank, the list goes on. In the same interview which he gave to the local institution, he mentioned that he came to this country at the age of 15. And interestingly, he came not with his parents, but with a professor who brought him here and guided him and mentored him. And I believe he was his source of inspiration to complete his education, which he did from University of Colorado, where he got his bachelor's and master's in computer sciences. In conclusion, I would like to say, at this time, when our nation is engaged in a conversation on immigration reform, Mr. Frank Islam's career is a compelling and a very inspiring immigrant story. It is also a reflection of this nation's greatness to create the environment and the resources to help an immigrant fulfill his full capabilities. Like many of us here, he too came in search of the American dream. He not only realized the dream, but as an entrepreneur, he created businesses, and businesses which created jobs. And now he has devoted his time for community services and philanthropic work. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Frank Islam.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Bani, for inviting me to speak here tonight. And thank you, Mr. Ike Leggett, who visited my house about 2 weeks ago. You probably have seen my house in Wall Street Journal about a month ago. I wish all of you a happy Independence Day of India, a country of my birth, a country that I love and care deeply. India has always been an integral part, indispensable part of our life, our story, our journey, and most of all, our destiny. I want to express my deep appreciation for your warm welcome. It is great to be here tonight with all of you. A sense of humility brings us together as a fellow Indian American, linked by common goals and common commitments and bonded by shared history and shared heritage. These bonds are stronger than the differences that too often drive us apart. And I want a special thank you today for the NCAIA leadership for inviting me to deliver this speech on the contributions of Indian Americans on the important occasion. I'm honored and humbled. I also want to acknowledge the NCAIA's leadership role in putting together this wonderful event, as well as the Republic Day in January, year after year. Besides bringing the local Indian American community together, these two National Days provide us with an opportunity to pay tribute to India's founding fathers. So I ask you to join with me in applauding the NCAIA for organizing that. Thank you very much for the leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, let's once again remember the sacrifices made by Indian independence leaders and the timeless ideals of the freedom movement they led, a movement that inspired leaders all around the world. Indian leaders have shaped our history. It shaped our destiny. Its principles have always guided us during the time of calm or the crisis. President Obama himself has eloquently pointed out on a number of occasions how he has been inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's ideals, message, and his teaching. During his visit to India in November 2010, the President said to the joint session of Indian Parliament, and I quote, "India not only opened our minds, she expanded our moral imaginations with religious texts that still summon the faithful to the lives of dignity and discipline, with poets who imagine a future where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, and with a man whose message of love and justice endures, the father of your nation, Mahatma Gandhi." End of quotation. Of course, the President is referring to one of the most foremost Indian leader, Mr. Rabindranath Tagore. All of us owe a sense of gratitude to Mr. Tagore. For us, Indian Americans, the 67th Independence Day assumes a special significance as it coincides with the 100 years of anniversary of the Ghadar movement. The Ghadar movement, as you will recall, was born in the United States of America with the goal of liberating India from the British tyranny. This connection was the beginning of a reciprocal bond between the United States and India, and this provides the theme for my speech today: independence and interdependence. The United States and India are independent and interdependent. Our faith and future are entwined. India could not be the strong and independent nation that she has become without the friendship and support of the United States. And the United States could not be the world leader that she has become and continues to be without the substantial contribution of Indian Americans. This conference committee has asked me to highlight some of the contributions in my speech tonight. I do so with pride as an Indian American, but with humility as an American citizen who recognizes that success of an individual or a group within society drives that blend of independence and interdependence that a democracy promotes and enables. The Indian American community has been referred to and recognized as a modern minority because of its accomplishment in the socio-economic sphere. When we speak of Indian American contribution in that sphere, the 2 points are worth noting. The first point is the wide distribution of wealth and talent across our community. Let me give you a couple of statistics to make my point. The median household income of the Indian American community is 175% more than the general U.S. population. 2/3 of the Indian Americans' workforce is engaged in managerial, professional, or related occupation, compared to just 1/3 among the general population of the United States. Nearly 1 in 4 from the community, our community, Indian American community, has a graduate or professional degree, compared to 1 in 10 among the general population. We, as Indian Americans, are only 1% of the U.S. population. But to use a boxing terminology, we punch way above our weight in a number of fields. And these fields, thank you. These fields include information technology, the sciences, and the medical profession, and the hospitality industry. As U.S. Ambassador to India, Nancy Powell noted last week, in the United States today, 3% of all engineers, 7% of the IT workforce, and 8% of all physicians are Indian American. These are the statistics we should take a pride what we have been able to accomplish in this nation. When it comes to innovation, we are second to none. A recent study revealed that between 2006 and 2012, 13.4% of all Silicon Valley startups and nearly 7% of all startups in the United States of America were founded and funded by immigrants from our home country, India. The study further revealed that Indian Americans have started 33.2% of all immigrant-funded startups in the United States. It's a staggering statistics. If you think it cannot get any better, there's an industry in which people of Indian origin in this country have done even better. That is the hospitality industry. Indian Americans run more than 20,000 hotels across America with a total property value of $128 billion. They own 4 out of every 10 motels in this nation. In the aggregate, these numbers are staggering indeed. And interesting, however, is the time frame within which they have been accomplished. This leads to my second point in the socio-economic sphere, that in the relatively short period of time, it has taken the Indian American community to become a major player and contributor to helping create and sustain the American dream. Until the 1960s, Indian Americans only had a negligible presence in the United States. In the 1970s and 80s, we began to build the critical mass. Ever since then, we have grown our presence and increased our significance across this country in different fields, including the one I just mentioned. So as a result, the Indian American community has become the champion of the American dream. The remarkable rise and success of the Indian Americans in this country is a testimony to the values and ethos that our community espouses. Among them, the importance of hard work, family, and education. Education is an issue that is close to my heart. I'm sure most of you will agree with me that our community's focus on education and cultivation of a culture that reinforces the values and importance of education is a big reason behind the success of Indian Americans. I should also mention here that it is no coincidence that India, along with China, sends the largest number of students to U.S. universities. Education is the catalyst that fuels the powerful engine of innovation and entrepreneurship. As Indian Americans, we understand that education is the best investment we can make to build our future, to create the next generations of Americans, and the educations help create higher aspirations, and higher aspirations propel individuals and moves the nations forward. Let me move to another important area of our contribution. that is emerging and increasing participation of members of the Indian American community in the politicals and public policy. Today, we have more Indian Americans holding statewide and federal office than ever before. As you all know, the two Indian Americans, we take a lot of pride in them, serving as the chief executive of their states. Governor Bobby Jindal of Louisiana, Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina. In addition, we have several next generation political leaders being groomed in local and state politics across America, from New Jersey to California. Here in Maryland, we have 3 delegates in the State Assembly. My good friends, Majority Leader Kumar Barve, Delegates Aruna Miller, and Sam Arora. We also have a Deputy Secretary of State in Rajan Natraj. And Rajan is a great friend and is a great friend of our community, and thank you for your leadership. Roughly 50 Indian Americans have served in President Obama's administrations in various capacities during the President's first and current term, which is unprecedented. On a personal note, I had the distinct honor to serve the administrations in 2 roles. As a member of the Advisory Committee of the Import Bank of the United States, as a member of the Department of Commerce Industry Trade Advisory Committee, both were gratifying jobs I immensely enjoyed. So while I have concentrated my comments on the contributions of Indian Americans here in the United States, our influence and contribution have transcended this nation's boundaries. Besides the fueling innovations and jobs stateside, Indian American, we can also be proud of the fact that we have assisted in the development of India in a big way. For example, the legions of Indian American entrepreneurs and IT professionals from Silicon Valley played a pioneering role in increasing the world-class IT infrastructure in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and other Indian cities. As a result, India today is the largest supplier of the IT manpower in the world. In closing, let me return to the concept that I've outlined in my speech, independence and interdependence. I hope my examples have shown that this interplay both across the nation states and within a nation can produce phenomenal results. Unfortunately, as we can see by looking around and across the United States, these results do not necessarily flow or benefit to all. Fareed Zakaria recently wrote an article in the Washington Post titled, "Social Immobility Erodes the American Dream." I believe we in the Indian community have the potential to slow and eventually stop the erosion. We can do that by continuing the good work we already do, by intensifying our entrepreneurs' social and philanthropic involvement and investment. We have grabbed the American dream, and we can do much to extend to others in this nation and all across the globe. All of us will do well to remember that it is America's inclusiveness and openness that provided us with a ladder of opportunity for all of us to succeed. America has made an investment in all of us. It is my hope and expectation that we make an investment in America by sharing and by giving back. And all of us should be guided and reminded by the phrase, an old saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. We as Indian American make up high percentage of the top earners of this country. But there are many still Americans less fortunate than us who need our help and our support. We must look upon ourselves this responsibility to become the voice for those who are voiceless and to help those who need help to help themselves, and to make this nation, which has accepted us with open arms, even greater than it already is. I believe in the power of the Indian American community and of the American dream. I also believe that in spite of all that we have accomplished today, our best contribution to the full realization of that dream are yet to come. I firmly believe that our best days are ahead of us, not behind us. Once again, thank you for inviting me to share my thoughts tonight. It is truly an honor. I look forward to working with you independently and interdependently with all of you to make those contributions that will make a difference for the future of America, India, and the world. I will leave you with one final thought. John Winthrop in 1632 on a ship Alabama, when he sailed from the coast of Old England to the coast of New England to establish the Bay Colony, he summoned his faithful in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and said, "America is a city on a hill. All the eyes are upon you. All the eyes are upon you as you work together for shared goals with a shared responsibility and shared sacrifices." Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Islam, for your kind remarks, your inspiration and sharing in the successes of the Indian Americans here in the U.S. It seems a common theme is to give back, so I'm sure most of our speakers today will be talking to that effect.